Hi, folks. I'm Father Joe Grimaldi. You can call me Joe, and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast. But now, here's our host and friend, Ken Calvert.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert alongside Father Joe Grimaldi, and we'd like to welcome you to the Father Joe Grimaldi Podcast. The Father Joe Grimaldi Podcast being brought to us by Houghton McInerney Star Lincoln, 12 Mile Road and Telegraph in Southfield, the home of the Star Treatment, the family, entire staff, and it's a good one. Want to say thank you for over 50 years of serving southeastern Lower Michigan customers. That's why so many Star customers are on their second, their third, their fourth, and even their fifth Lincoln, sedan, or stunning SUVs. Take a look at the Navigator, the Aviator, and the Lincoln MKC. That's the SUV that Father Joe Grimaldi and I are driving. Stop on by, say hi, have a cup of coffee. Summer is a great time to stop by 12 Mile and Telegraph in Southfield, have a cup of coffee, relax, and enjoy the company of one of our seasoned, certified sales specialists. You're going to find the Lincoln that you're going to want to own or lease. Stop on by Houghton McInerney Star Lincoln, located at 12 Mile Road and Telegraph in Southfield. It's the home of the Star Treatment. I have been listening to the competition. And
Have you?
Yeah. And I got to tell you, I mean this sincerely, and it's going to sound a tad braggadocious, but
You're allowed.
okay, I'm going to tell you that quality-wise, in terms of actual sound quality, content, continuity, consistency, we're right up there. I mean, right on down to our beautiful little guitar-playing music. It's all contained. But I overlooked something that I noticed one of the podcasts does with all of their guests, and I wanted to just ask you, because I found it interesting, who was your biggest influence growing up?
There was a fellow by the name of Brother Luke Nagel. He really was someone who I admired in high school, and that's why I decided to join the Brothers when I first did. Growing up, I guess I was not in a situation which was typically American, because both my parents were from Italy. We spoke Italian in the house. We were so culturally Italian that you might mistake us for this European family as opposed to a family in New York City. We were all New York City, but we were not. As a matter of fact, I still remember my parents calling all the other people Americani, Americans,
Sure.
Whereas we were, who were we? I wasn't sure. But anyway, so growing up, as I say, while I was in high school, Brother Luke Nagel was the one that I really admired as a person that I could try to imitate when I grew up, as it were. And so that's the reason I entered the Brothers.
When you were, let's say, 9, 10, 11, 12, late grade school, playing ball, hanging out with your buddies, did you have several friendships?
Stickball.
Did you play stickball?
A little bit of basketball in the schoolyard, that type of stuff. And despite my awkwardness, I really was, I did okay with basketball.
I bet you did.
Not. I don't know why, but I kept my eye on the ball, got it in there.
Yeah.
But it was, those are the things we did. I had a very close friend, Jim Brady, who I'm afraid I lost track of him. I don't even know if he's alive or if he's gone to his eternal home. But so these are the things we did kind of in the neighborhood.
So you and Jim Brady would hang out after school?
After school, but I went to All Hallows in New York. And the big thing, of course, at that time for All Hallows was basketball. And so we would spend time after school playing basketball.
Okay. And what about, was it, when you went to grade school, it was co-ed?
Oh, the grade school was definitely co-ed, yeah.
Did you have girlfriends? I mean...
Yeah, I even went to a prom eventually.
Yeah, I was going to say in high school.
Yeah, that type of thing. Good old Joyce. But anyway.
Yeah, you went with Joyce.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But, these are the things that everybody else did, so we did, and it worked out.
What happened to Joyce?
Joyce married, has about 4 kids.
Yeah,
and,
did you ever talk to Joyce?
I did afterwards, maybe 1 or 2 times, but don't forget, there's the old neighborhood. We moved away, so we were too far away, really, to communicate. with the old timers, as it were. But on occasion, yes.
Okay, so you're in high school. You're doing all the normal things. Brother Luke sort of piques your interest in maybe looking into a vocation in the Brotherhood.
Correct, yes.
Why did you like Brother Luke so much?
Because I was able to see how the rapport that he had with the students,
Yeah.
the way he was able to teach what he wanted to teach, and he did a great job of it with the students following his ways. And I said, I think I can do that. And this is when I decided I would be a brother. Of course, my parents weren't thrilled about it, but I certainly wanted to do it. And
so they wanted you to be a priest. If you're going to...
see, the oldest one in the Italian family is not supposed to be a religious. He's supposed to be married. And so let that be the youngest one to become a priest, this type of thing. However, they were thinking old time because in Italy, it was the oldest one who was the one who had the property and so on and so forth. Then you come to the United States, things get changed and so on.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, what about, I don't know if there's a difference between someone who is a great influence on you and a mentor, but did you have a mentor, somebody that stood out after Brother Luke that was really one that you could trust and go to in a difficult situation?
Well, Luke was the one that I was able to for a while anyway, until after high school. When I went into the Brothers, basically we had spiritual directors, and they changed according to the stage of your life. So as a brother in training, you had someone. As a brother in college, you had someone. So then they were assigned, actually.
And I think, finally, your favorite saint is Vianney?
St. John Vianney is the patron saint of priests. And I always had this love-hate relationship. Maybe that's too strong. But basically, I never really had him as a favorite saint. But all these things that happened to me were on his feast day.
You were ordained on his feast day.
Ordained on his feast day, and it was just something that the bishop and I decided the 4th of August. And then I took over the first parish on the 4th of... The pastor left on that day. I mean, it was so many things happened on the 4th of August was his feast day that I says, wow, I better get serious. He's better become my patron.
And what church did you end up?
St. John Vianney.
I know.
That was my first parish.
Yeah, well, that's just that's beyond a coincidence.
Isn't it?
That's the good Lord working there.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
He does that to me every so
go
often.
on with you there, meathead. That's the Lord working his magic.
He sure is.
That was my Archie Bunker, by the way. It wasn't very good, but I tried.
I love it. You did a great job.
Speaking of television programs, which I love that program.
So did I.
I was watching something on CBS the other night. I don't know why I had to identify the network, but I did. It's a program called Bull, and it's about an attorney who is very prolific at picking a jury or assisting a defense attorney in picking the jury. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes sense, yes.
Okay. Situation in this particular show was a priest who had heard about a situation involving a church vehicle hit a child was killed. The person confessed it to the priest. Well, long story short, after the confession of this person, the priest refused to give up the information to the police. It was paramount that he do it, and he could not do it. So I wanted to ask you once again about that. When it comes to confession and somebody committing a crime, you can forgive the person, but then you tell them to go directly to the police, correct?
And the forgiveness does not take effect until after they've shown themselves to the police. Now, is it a crime we're talking about?
Yes.
First of all, let me say this. Anything that is said during the seal of confession, in other words, anything that's said between "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned," and the time that the priest gives his absolution, that's under the seal. And you cannot reveal anything under the seal unless the individual himself speaks up. So, for example, even when the penitent comes out of confession and talks to the Father, says, remember what I told you in confession about this, that, or the other thing? the priest automatically will say to him or her, what is it? You'll have to remind me. Just so that he says it or she says it outside of confession. Otherwise, it's still under the seal.
Oh.
It's that strict. People have died for it in the past, not revealing the seal.
That's where I'm going. Okay.
Okay, so it's that strict. My God, it's one of the strictest things that we have in the priesthood.
That's really interesting because that's basically the basis for this program. It had these poor attorneys just knowing that the riddle would be solved by knowing that. And the priest would not under any situation.
Well, if he breaks the seal, it ruins it for life for people who need serious spiritual counseling and confession without having to be fearing the threat of, some type of legal penalty. So I think it's trying to protect the penitent
Sure.
in a way that they can be free to speak completely honestly with the priest.
Well, with the new format of confession where it's face-to-face, I understand where, and of course the fact that you probably recognize voices anyway through a screen if people elect to do it that way. But let's go back to what you said. I wasn't aware of that. If I were to come up to you and say, remember when you forgave me a few months back during confession? Remember that story, Father Joe? You would have to say.
Hey, Ken, would you remind me what was it that you said?
And then do you say as well, and be specific to the topic? Why would somebody want to say, hey, Father, remember when I confessed?
Well, if it's somebody who's not so much aware of the seal, there are people that don't know the technical issues of confession, and they may just think it was a nice conversation what they have with the priest, and afterwards they say, remember this,
Yeah.
Well, no, the priest cannot do that.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a serious deathbed confession where, of course, I'm going to add the movie drama, lights, action. Okay, Father, no one knows this, but I have to tell you, I killed a man. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. You forgive the person, right? He's dying. He's certainly not going to turn himself in, he or she, correct?
You're right, Ken. It's interesting that you asked that question. I've never had it, but...
Never?
No. Oh, no.
Really?
Had other things.
Yeah.
Maybe not murder.
Right.
But people who may have cheated on their wives or husbands. These things. Yes. Right before the person died. I need to get this off my chest and so on. But by the same token, the church considers the deathbed confessions so serious that even a priest who's been barred from practicing priesthood can hear confession, if there's no other priest around, can hear the confession of a dying person.
Why?
Because it's that serious. The person is ready to meet the Lord.
He's been defrocked, correct?
Yeah.
This priest. Yet, if he's the only...
Oh, because in the church, according to the order of Melchizedek, once a priest, always a priest.
Okay. Oh, all right.
You're defrocked, yes,
Yeah.
but it doesn't take away that indelible sign of who you are.
Wow. I learned something on that one.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to get macabre in any way, shape, but I have to somewhat. We are located in Oakland County in the great state of Michigan, southeast lower Michigan. Specifically, we are in Oakland County.
Correct.
Nearly 50 years ago, there were 3 children that were kidnapped and killed. What if the priest heard a deathbed confession of that person, the kidnapper, killer? For the sake of everyone involved, the police department, the families, the souls of the dearly departed, could the priest finally solve the riddle for us?
Is this where the killer did go to confession?
No, I'm asking. It's a hypothetical.
Well, I mean, and hypothetically, I will say no. He can't reveal it's been done.
He could not say. What if the person that did it is dead.
It doesn't matter.
It would make life so much better for people. For
Yeah.
so many people.
Yeah, but right now, if you look at this situation that you bring up, has happened how many years ago?
Nearly 50.
Okay. So now you're dealing with a person who is dying, or maybe by 50 years from now, a lot of people have either settled it by having their own answers to it and so on and so forth. What I'm trying to say is
No,
that,
it's actually in this case, it's, I think, probably because of the legacy and DNA and all of the various police, all of the assistance that the police now have, the tools that they have in their toolbox now, as opposed to what they had 45, 50 years ago.
Sure.
They are really hoping that at some point they are going to solve this mystery.
by the DNA.
This murder mystery will be solved. They will find the killer.
Okay.
Eventually. That's what they're hoping. That's where the priest, if this person is deceased and there was a priest involved, he could make that situation much better for everyone. Close the book, and so many people could finally go to their own graves knowing who did this horrific thing. And yet you're telling me, based on the seal, the priest could not do it.
Correct.
How do you feel about that?
What you bring up is such a rare situation.
I know.
I don't know of any other situation that this has occurred. As a matter of fact, I don't know that the killer
It did not
go.
occur. I've made it a total hypothetical.
Okay,
But
so-
I'm applying it to a case that I remember when it happened. I remember following it closely, and it's just recently come back to the forefront because they have gotten tips. Unfortunately, they've had no fruit on those trees. But you're just telling me that, no, you could not do it.
No.
And again, I asked you how you feel about that.
It sounds cruel. It is cruel, maybe in a way, but let me put it this way. So is the importance of the seal. That's very important as well.
So it would totally invalidate the entire purpose of confession in your world, in your mind, if you were to all of a sudden make that rare exception.
Yeah, because that means anybody could reveal what's being said.
Would you be defrocked if you did it?
Oh, God, yes. There are examples of that all the time.
Oh, there are.
Yes.
This is an interesting topic all of a sudden.
Yeah.
No kidding. So
Well,
there
this
were...
is why, let's put it this way, this is why these law and order programs love to use cases like that.
Yeah.
Because it is so evident among society, well, not so evident. People don't know about Catholic rules and regulations.
Well, they know
but-
that one, though.
Yeah, they do.
They know that one. Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is it's an important one. I think maybe that's the one that stands out in their minds, and it's one that you could make a theater out of.
Oh, you could make a movie. You could really do a nice job.
So
Yeah. It's a great topic.
it is.
It's a
It
good
is.
topic, but it's a difficult topic for you because of the fact that you're explaining to me the fundamentals of the seal
Yeah.
and the importance of the seal. Do you happen to know the background as to when the seal was created? Was there something in the Bible that suggests how we came to a point in our Catholic religion where we have confession and how the seal developed? Do you know the history of
No, I don't. No, it goes back to about the year 1000 when it became very popular. And, of course, the seal may have developed alongside of the establishment of confession as we know it, but
But it's not like baptism. We certainly know the roots
No,
of
that's
baptism.
right.
Yeah, okay. It is an interesting topic, though, don't you think?
oh, very much so.
It's an interesting topic in that it'd be a great class to teach, I think.
A lot of back and forth.
Oh,
questions
you would
and
have a
answers,
ton. Well, here's what I'm going to do. Because I've piqued my own interest. I'm not going to write a movie. I'm going to look up the answer
And share it with
and
me.
share it with you and the entire podcast nation the next time we get together on the Father Joe Grimaldi podcast.
That would be great.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I
All
would.
right, then consider it done.
Okay.
I'm going to work on it the minute I get done serving you a little cake and coffee.
How about 2 minutes?
Okay, fine. Apparently you're going to eat the cake and coffee
It'll take time.
Okay, all right. We'll see you next time on the Father Joe Grimaldi podcast. I'm Ken Calvert, everybody.
See you soon. Thank you. This is Father Joe Grimaldi, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Father Joe podcast.
If you'd like, you can email us. It's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. That's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. Simply search Father Joe Grimaldi. And thanks for listening, everyone.